and give it the right permissions to share your screen.
Okay.
Or if you can find a way to give permissions to Chrome or whatever browser you're using, that can also work. But you might have to restart it.
Damn it. All right, I'll figure it out.
All right, cool. Then we can get started then in the meantime.
Cool.
Awesome, thank you. All right, nothing like a little good technical debugging to start off office hours this week. Hello everyone, welcome. We missed the music this week, Kim. Hint, hint, we need more music. We need a cool beat to kind of get us pumped while we do
There was music.
Really? I didn't see any other. I didn't see any other stream. Okay.
I put it up.
Maybe I just missed it. I just saw your stream pop up now. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's dive right into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome. If this is your first office hours, welcome again. And this is our weekly community touch point where we just talk about great projects, interesting things that people are working on, news, announcements. We have 3 showcases today, 3 project highlights, and we're just going to briefly recap where we are on our road to permissionless smart contract deployment. And then we'll have our usual breakout rooms where you can ask Cadence and FCL related questions. If you have questions for today's office hours, you can either push to talk or you can use the Slido. So scan the QR code or input this code in slido.com, and this will be a live interactive board where we can see all the questions that come in. But again, feel free to just ask away. You don't have to use this if you prefer to just speak up. This is a conversation. It's not just me talking. So happy to have anyone unmute and talk using push to talk. All right, cool. So we'll also share the link to the Slido in the office hours text chat, and we can move to just kind of going over the team as we usually do, and then we can cover what we have on the agenda and get started right away. So let's introduce the team real quick. Awesome. So we have, so this is a non-exhaustive list of Flow core contributors. We're always looking for more talent. So if you are interested, check out our careers page. We have a role at the bottom that you can specifically apply for, which I'll talk about. But yeah, here's a couple of the folks that you'll see often on browsing around in our Discord. So we have the dev avocados, Kim, Bruno, myself. We have the community managers, Carol and Trey. The cadence experts, Josh, Bastian, Satyam, and Alvaro. FCL and SDK engineers, Greg, Chase, Max, Gregor, Yanez. Max is also doing a lot of work now around, he started a new series on dev.to that we can talk about later, maybe during the community highlights. And we have the DevX team, Shrinjoy, Mac, Pete, Morton, Alex, and Amit. The famous Amit that everyone knows on this Discord server is now part of the DevX team. Welcome. And then we have our solutions engineering, Albert, the one and only legend. And we have marketing, David, and we have potentially you. So as I was mentioning earlier, we have a bunch of roles open, one of which is for a full stack engineer on the developer experience team. So if you love to build tools for developers and you want to contribute to them specifically for Flow, then this is the perfect role for you. Definitely reach out and apply, and you could be on this awesome Fig Jam board. So let's switch over to the agenda real quick and let's see what we have today. So we have, as I mentioned, 3 project highlights: Arlequin, NuFi, and Fauna. Then we'll briefly cover recent updates and things that you need to keep in mind on our road to permissionless smart contract deployment. And then we'll have our usual breakout rooms. Cool. All right. Then without further ado, I'll hand it over to Arlequin, to Kevin and Jules.
Yay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Hey. Yes, perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, very happy to be here to talk to you about Arlequin, about what is and what's the great news, especially the upcoming minting, which is tomorrow in about 24 hours. So for those who don't know, so I'm Kevin, the founder of Arlequin. This is a project we've been working on for 8 months now with, at the start, Julian. So Julian and I met 1 year ago, and since then we've been working on different stuff, and then recently Arlequin. So Julian, he's one of the brilliant mind of cadence development, smart contract development. So very happy to have him in the team, and also the rest of the team is composed of very good people on the art space. And so let me share my screen so I can show you. I can actually make a little spoil for you.
Awesome.
Because I will show you the. You should be able to see my screen and to see the homepage of what Arlequin will be in about 24 hours. So Arlequin is what we call the artist metaverse. So here, leave cute 2D animals, name the Arlies. And what makes them unique is that you can paint on them directly in the browser. And we give one flow to animal charities each time an Arlie is minted. So you got painting, you got charity. So this is something that is very important for us to bring art and composability to the blockchain by directly painting, and also give an interesting cause and meaning through charity. So just for fun, let's try to paint on this alley. We made this cute stuff to just to show you how it works. But this is just an example, and obviously not. I'm teasing you a bit. This is not the real painter. So the real painter is just here. So let me welcome you and introduce you to the cockatoo. This is the very first species of Arlequin, and this is the species that will be available tomorrow in the painter for the minting. So here you have different poses, and this will be what you can choose during tomorrow minting. And different settings, like obviously painting, stickers, and I don't know about yourself, but I really like this one.
Nice one.
So let me just jump into the T-pose. The T-pose is very convenient for painting because, well, you can access every part easily. So and you can do stuff like changing the ground color, etc., etc. And the minting process is right here, but I will not spoil you more than that. You can choose the Arlie name, the Arlie story, and minting for 16 flow, as you can see. All the perks are here, so unique URL for your 3D Arlies, tradable in the upcoming marketplace, playable in the upcoming Arlequin game, and qualify for future airdrop. So I will let you discover all that tomorrow. And as you can see, the next Arlie will be in 21 days. So this is a very interesting step that we are doing, because for Arlequin there is no limited supply. You can mint any amount of cockatoo that you want, but there is limited in time. So in 3 weeks, the cockatoo won't be available anymore, and it will be replaced by another species. So that's about it for the painting stuff. So in about 24 hours, the minting will be open. We'll make an announcement about that. And we all hope you are going to be here to see that, and just be there.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin. Looks great. What name will you give the flow cockatoo?
Well, it's up to you. You can. This is every player that will be able to, mint their allies and give it their own name and story. So,
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see if we have any questions. One question is, can you talk about the smart
Yeah.
contract process?
Sure. Julian is here, and he can definitely talk about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, so the smart contract is it's quite simple, really. It's minting just using IPFS for the metadata and a few pieces of the meta for all the image and the camera settings, everything that you mint from the painter, all the painting you put on, and then the actual minting process is time limited, basically, as you mentioned. So there's a rotation of the different species, and that's what will introduce different rarity. So the older ones, depending on how many people mint in that time frame, that will set the amount of that particular species.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, Kevin can answer more on the.
Sure. So I think, yeah, it was about how many species. So the species will come every 3 weeks, and it will be an ongoing process. So the Arlequin project is we will try to make it the longer possible, so many and many years to come, because we have a long-term vision, which is the video game, the real metaverse where you can incarnate your Arlie and just hang around the town and the city of Arlequin and meet other player. And yeah, through all that time, we are going to propose a new species every 3 weeks, and especially endangered species. So, for example, like rhino. And yeah, for each mint, one flow will be dedicated, will be sent to the animal charity, depending on the species you mint. And yeah, so as Julian said, for the next question, the painting. So actually, yeah, you are currently, when you paint on the 3D model, you are actually painting on a PNG, which is then stored to IPFS. And then when you go to your collection to see your currently painted Arlie, it just fetches the image and apply it to the 3D model. So this is how it works.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Jules.
Yeah.
Cool. So if any more questions trickle in, we can answer them towards the end of the office hours when we have the community highlights. In the interest of time, we'll just keep moving
Sure.
to the next presentation. But thanks. It looks really fun. I like the concept that a species will only exist for a certain amount of time. And
exactly, yeah, and many other surprises to come, like the painting contest, which will occur in summer, and many other stuff. But yeah, we will give all the details bit by bit in the coming months.
Awesome. And what's the best way for people to, like, what's the next step for people today? Should they join your Discord? Should they check out?
Yeah, so we're on Discord and Twitter, so better to follow us on both to be sure not to miss anything.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Next up, Mikhail with NuFi.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So NuFi is a non-custodial multi-blockchain wallet with a focus on proof-of-stake blockchains. Currently, we have only web version, but we are currently in the process of releasing the Chrome extension, which will have also the app connector that will allow users to connect to the apps. Initially, the DApp connector will support Cardano and Solana, and we plan to include Flow support by the end of June. We are part of Vacuum Labs Group, a software company mostly focused on the fintech industry. Vacuum Labs operates several projects on Cardano blockchain and works with many projects across different blockchains. For example, one of Vacuum Labs engineers is developing the Flow integration for the Ledger hardware wallet. He has been doing it for the past year, I believe. So I will just very quickly give you a very brief demonstration of our product. So NuFi is a typical cryptocurrency wallet. We are supporting Trezor and Ledger hardware wallet. Unfortunately, Trezor is not supporting Flow, so we don't have Flow support on Trezor, but Ledger, for Ledger we have full support. If the user doesn't have a hardware wallet, they just simply create a profile, and they need to copy or copy their seed phrase, which is basically a representation of their private key. After initiating the wallet, user automatically has Solana and Cardano account. Flow account needs to be manually added by a few clicks. User can have multiple accounts for each of the blockchains. I believe for Flow we are limiting it to 5 at this moment, but I don't think anyone needs more than 5. Okay, so Flow account was created. After the Flow account is created, user can start using it. I will show you how the wallet looks like if you have some assets in it, and what you can do with the wallet at this very moment. So we are also trying to fetch values for the tokens that are present in the wallet. It's of course not possible for all the tokens, but we are adding more data sources for that. Currently, we are working on some filters here, because if the user already has a lot of assets, it's difficult to navigate. From this asset screen, user can send, receive cryptocurrencies they have. They can also use the integrated Changely exchange and basically do crypto to crypto exchanges through our partner Changely. All the executed exchanges can be seen in the exchange history. We have also on the account screen, the users can manage their accounts. If the usual user will have just one account for each blockchain, but there are specific use cases where the user may want to have more than one account for each blockchain, especially if they are using also a hardware wallet. Maybe they want to have a single account for a hardware wallet, single account for the seed wallet, and they can do different stuff with them. So they can be adding new accounts through this interface. Yeah, and here the user can do a lot of stuff with the account, like renaming it, looking on the history, importing custom token, or even forget the account. Forgetted account can be always retrieved, but if for some reason you are not using the account anymore, you can basically hide it. So as I mentioned, we are focusing on the proof-of-stake cryptocurrencies. So like I would say our core screen is this staking screen, where the user can see their portfolio of staked cryptocurrencies. It was a bit challenging to align the user flows for staking, because staking works completely different on each of these blockchains. So, for example, for Cardano, it's like pretty simple. You just need to stake to some validator and have some funds on your wallet, and that's it. On blockchains like Solana and Flow, the staking process is a little bit more difficult, and we are displaying to the user all the stages of the staking process. Staking is really easy. User just enter the amount of flow they want to stake. They can select the validator, whichever validator they want, and they just quickly stake it. Few months ago, we started to work on the NFT gallery. We realized that users want to see their NFTs in a different view. So we have also this NFT gallery. For Cardano, is working pretty well. For Solana and Flow, it's still in a kind of beta phase. We are currently working on a redesign of this gallery, so it's even more user-friendly and nicer. We are struggling at this moment to get all the data for the NFTs on Flow. We are getting only partial metadata yet, but we are working on it, and we are adding collections one by one, and we should have a lot of collections pretty much soon, especially with the launch of the Chrome extension on Flow. We plan to have a lot of collections within this 1 month. Okay. Then we have this experiment here. This is basically decentralized exchange integrated directly into the user interface. This is Cardano decentralized exchange. If we'll see interest of users, we may add another dApps directly into our user interface, probably some Flow decks, probably some Flow marketplaces, so users could be possibly able to trade their NFTs directly from this user interface. As I mentioned, we are working on this Chrome extension. It's not released yet on the Chrome's extension store, but I can very briefly show you how it will look like. So basically, typical Chrome extension, you just connect your wallet to a dApp, and you can start working with a dApp. You can do a swap of one asset for another. Confirm it. I can check some details of the transactions here. And I can follow the status of the transaction either here or in the NuFi interface. Okay, so this is it. This is what our project is about. As I mentioned, we should have pretty much full support for Flow, including the dApp connector on the Chrome extension by the end of June. We are looking forward to work with Flow community and to add our Flow dApp connector wallet to all the projects through the FCL.
Awesome. Thanks, Miko. Actually, the first and only question we have so far on Slido is exactly that. It was asking, does NuFi wallet support FCL, Flow Client Library?
Yeah, that's what we are working on now. Chrome extension will be released within 1 week, and we are already working on the FCL support. That should be there by the end of June.
So, thank you. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask them in the Slido or in the office hours text chat, and then we can kind of come back to it during the community highlights. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. So the next question is, will it show up on the wallet discovery? So yes, if you can probably confirm as well, Mikhail, but if you support FCL, then it'll be part of the wallet discovery.
Yeah, of course. As soon as we release the version with the FCL support, it will be discoverable. Of course, this depends also on the app side, if they have this auto discovery there. But if they have auto discovery on, NuFi will be immediately available.
Yep, and that's actually a great opportunity to remind everyone that make sure that you're using FCL 1.0, which got recently released, and use the new Discovery API so that as soon as new wallets are available on Flow that integrate with FCL, they automatically appear in the discovery process, and you don't need to change any of your backend code or any of your app code because everything will be done through FCL. So definitely update your FCL apps to use the wallet discovery. And we can probably add a link in the office hours text chat on how to do that, or at least send a link to the discovery page of our docs. Cool. Thanks again, Mikhail, and we can probably come back to questions later. All right, next up, we have Z. Talk to us about Fauna. Are you there, Z?
Hello? Okay, I'm not muted anymore. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Well, let's try this again. I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully this time it works. Wonderful.
Yes, it's working perfect.
Restarting machines. So I am from Fauna. If you guys aren't familiar with us, we are a serverless database, meaning it's kind of like DynamoDB, but a next generation of. So there's nothing to install. I'm also going to talk about Kitty Items, the sample app for the storefront. And as you know, in this project, there's a DB component to it. So what I'm going to demo today is actually refactoring Kitty Items so that it uses Fauna as the database. And why are we doing that? Because, well, if you want to get your app up and running, there's a small component in Kitty Item that's a server, but that database is pretty heavyweight. So it's something that you might not want to manage, and a serverless database could be the answer for you. So in my demo, I'm just going to fire up Kitty Items, and I'm going to build from scratch the Fauna implementations, and we're going to point this project to Fauna, and then we're going to watch it work. So before we do all that, let's go through the basics so that you understand how this interface works. I'm logged into my account in Fauna, and we're starting from scratch. I'm going to create a database, and we're going to pick a footprint where this database is going to be deployed in. So right now we have 3. Classic spans EU and US. I'm just going to pick US. And there it is, right? We're not waiting seconds or minutes for a database to show up. It's right here. And instead of tables, we call them collections because this is a NoSQL database. So I'm going to create a block. Wait, let's go back here. Oh, let's go back here. I want to show you this first. So if you recall from Kitty Items, the database has 2 tables in it, a block cursor and listing. And it has a server component called the event worker. So it's polling from the network for two types of events, which is listing available and completed. Whenever it sees listing available, it puts that listing in the listing table or the storefront. And when it sees listing completed for the same item, it removes it from the listing table. And once that cycle is done, it kind of records the last position of that block that was processed, and then the whole cycle continues again in perpetuity, right? Just goes on and on and on. So these were implemented in the Kitty Items project using SQLite, and I'm going to basically re-implement that in Fauna. So we're going to create two collections, the block cursor and the listing collection. So block cursor, just like that. And let's do a listing. And then let's show you some basics here. I can use a UI, so event name, to create it. And whenever I create something, it gets a primary key automatically generated. Or I can use commands. So this is the syntax to do a create. It's like that. So there's another one. There's that, the one. And once I have that, I can update it. Right. So that's just showing you what CRUD is. So whoops, refresh. Oh no, that's the wrong command. That's the primary key of the collection I just created. So once I have an item created, I can read it back with a get, that bar. I can go ahead and update it like this. Event name. So now it's bar 2. And then I can go ahead and delete it like this. And these are all the CRUD operations that we're going to run in Kitty Items, right? So now it's deleted. It's gone. And next, I'm going to talk about indexes. I'm going really fast because there's a lot to cover. I'm going to talk about indexes. So if I wanted to do a query on event name, I need to create an index. So what I do is do that, give it a name. Okay, just go ahead and search for it. So that's the basics, right? I can go ahead and do this again, create. Now, how do I actually use this in a project? So we go, this is JavaScript. We go install the Fauna DB library, and you import it, you instantiate a client, and you give it an API key. Like that. And since I picked the US region, that's the domain I choose. EU would be .eu. And I can just do this. So client.query, and then you stick the command in there, right? You stick the query in there. So that's how you use it. Don't have to run this because I'm going to do everything going forward on the Kitty Items project here. So what I'm going to do is set my environment variables. There. Domain. then we're going into the API folder because we need to install Fauna. Okay, so it should be in there, right? So there it is. Okay, now let's go back to our picture here. I'm going to implement this part right here, block cursor. So if you go into services, block cursor, this is the part that I'm going to refactor. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is import fauna in there, right? And it's going to pull the secret and domain from my environment variable, which I just set in here. And then we're going to replace this block of code. So if you look at this code, what it's doing is you take the block height and the event name. So it's going to search for a block cursor with that event name. If it doesn't find it, if it finds it, it'll just return it. If it doesn't find it, it goes and inserts it, right? So all this can be written in Fauna's query language. So let's go back here. I'm just going to copy and paste stuff because we have to move really quick. So this is our query language syntax. It's a functional programming language, but I hope you can read this. What I'm doing is creating a function. Now, here's actually the actual query, and I'm going to actually highlight it. That's the actual query here. So I'm giving it an event name, and that's that index we created earlier, block cursor by event name. Right, so it's going to search for that index for the event name, and if it finds something, so if the count is greater than 0, it just returns the result. If the count, this is the else part, it goes ahead and creates it. That's what it's doing. And then lastly, it's going to return that result. So it's going to return the result. That's what the select is. But it's going to also format that result and make it match the type, right? So that's block cursor, and it needs ID. That's the block cursor type, right? ID, event name, and block cursor height. So because my data does not include the ID, I'm just going to merge it back in. So that's what I'm doing. This is query composition. And then lastly, once I have this entire query, I'm just going to turn it into a function. So now I have a function called this thing. I can go ahead and do my thing. So here we go. Client query. Call function. That's the function name. And we pass it in these two parameters. That's the typo. So, and that's it. So, right, what we've been writing in code here is completely rewritten as a Fauna function. It's important to note here, if you look here, we're doing probably a query in here. That's one round trip to the database. And then we may be doing it again here, insert and fetch. And depending on the implementation, there could be 1 or 2 round trips to the database. And that's fine if your database is right next to your server, but Fauna is an API. So you don't want to have 3 round trips to the cloud and back, and it's going to add a lot of latency. So we're doing the entire transaction here in one function call. So that's why we did it this way. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. And then now we got to
Hey,
we'll just go ahead and
how much longer is it? Just mindful of time.
I'm going to go really fast now. So the next thing is like I just walked through the details here, but the next the next 5 methods here, I'm just going to cut and paste just to like fast forward through it. We're going to go real quick. Yeah. So the next thing I'm going to do is back here. So we need to do the same thing for the next method, right? Update block cursor by ID. And that one. That there. And then we got to do the same thing for the storefront. So add listing. So there's the add listing in here, which I'm going to, again, create a function for. There it is. What's next? The remove listing also has a function. And this thing needs doesn't need an index actually, so that's good. There's another one, find listing. That's the next one, find listing. And I got one more to do. It needs an index. I'm going to create that index. Boom. Last one, guys. Last one. That's the find most recent sales. It too needs an index. That's just getting the listings and ordering it in reverse order because that's what the query does. So now we have everything in there. Let's just do all this. Here we go. Add listing. Let's refactor it. Oh, I need to import Fauna.
I believe you also wrote a blog post that kind of walks through this step by step, right? Zoom?
Yep. So I have a blog post that just walks through all this. So if you guys are interested to look at all the details that I'm skipping over right now, please read the blog post. Here we go. That's the last one. And that's it. If we go ahead and run this thing, if I did everything right and there are no mistakes, this kitty items project should be running against my fauna database. So no, I did something wrong.
I think.
Yeah.
I
But
think just in the interest of time, we should probably leave this as an exercise for the viewer to try
I know.
and replicate the blog post. But I think
Yep.
the basic concept is, the cool thing about Fauna is you can define functions at the API level so that you only really need to make an API call with some arguments, and then it handles everything in the backend, right?
Yep. It's what you did. So in the old code, you have some of your business logic written in your code, and then it's talking to database, just like input and out, and they're really close to each other. So we take the two of that and combined it, and it's a single runtime inside our database, and then you access it as an API using one function call, which is a style I used here, but you can actually put the entire query inside client query. You can put the entire query, but the style I used here is to turn it into a function and just call that function to keep the code clean. And if I didn't screw anything up, this should have worked, and we didn't have to deploy a single database at all, and it's ready for production. Yep.
Awesome. Well, that's just the demo gods. They are rarely kind. So thanks for being brave enough to do a live demo. And I think just looking at the lines of code, it's pretty clear how much of a keeping the code clean type of benefit that there is. It reduces complexity. So definitely dApp developers should consider Fauna as they're building their dApps, just to have a backend. Because I know that a lot of dApp developers, they kind of start on the front end and kind of feel like they need to stick on the front end and do everything on chain, but really there's often a need for backend components, and maybe it's a little daunting, but using services like this could really simplify it. So thanks for showing it, and we will cover any questions we have later during the community highlights. And in the meantime, just thanks again for taking the time to walk us through it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Z. Awesome. All right. So very brief reminder before we break out into the rooms. We are on a path to permissionless smart contract deployment. The most recent news around that is that the secure cadence bug bounty has started. So feel free to participate if you like to tinker with stuff and try to break things. The other thing that's coming up is on June 1st, we will be enabling segmented transaction fees on mainnet. So make sure that you look through the docs. We're putting all the links in the chat right now, but make sure that you look through the documentation around segmented transaction fees, and make sure that your dApp supports the fact that not all transactions cost the same now. Most of them should be a lot cheaper, but it's worth making sure that your code is ready. And lastly, if you have a contract deployed on testnet or on mainnet, you will need to make sure that your contracts are compatible with secure cadence. On June 8th, we will be sporking testnet, and it will on June 8th it will start running secure cadence. So you will have a chance to deploy your contract, your secure cadence contract on testnet starting June 8th, and you will have around a week to test it on testnet. And on June 15th, we will spork mainnet. And from June 15th, only secure cadence compatible contracts will work. So just to recap, June 8th, testnet, secure cadence. So make sure that you right now start checking your contracts that you have deployed to make sure that they're compatible with secure cadence. And if not, make sure that you update them. On June 8th, you can test them on testnet. And on June 15th, you'll need to update your existing mainnet contracts with the updated versions. The good news is that starting June 15th, after the spork, all the contracts that are existing will be fully permissionless, meaning that you can freely update them as soon as mainnet is back up after the spork. And then shortly thereafter, the exact dates are TBD, but shortly thereafter, we will also enable full permissionless smart contract deployment, meaning that new contracts will also be permissionless. and more on that later. But we pasted all the links in the chat for everything I just said. Make sure that you keep that in mind and get ready for this big milestone in Flow's journey. Awesome. All right. Then I think even though we went a little over today than usual, I think we can still break out into, if you have questions on anything related to Cadence, make sure that you go to the Cadence breakout room. So the voice chat underneath this one, that's the Cadence breakout room. Go there and ask your questions. Anything about secure Cadence, anything about permissionless, anything about kind of how do I get ready for it, go there. If you have questions about FCL, Flow Client Library, dApps, etc., then go to the FCL breakout room. Yeah, and in this breakout room, in this main room, we'll just cover some community highlights and answer any other questions that we have on Slido. All right. Cool. So let me. Yeah. So Z, someone said there might be a typo in the index name. This is the case when you're live coding in front of a bunch of people. Everyone sees the mistake, but so yeah, there might have been a typo in the index name. But yeah, read the blog post. Z did a great job at explaining all the steps, and you can definitely replicate it. And maybe a question for you, Z, on Fauna: is there a path to decentralization?
It's for your off-chain needs, really. So your data that needs to be private, for example, or data that needs to be queried, such as the storefront. So there is no path to that yet. It's complementary to blockchain, but it's not really playing in blockchain space. Hope that answers the question.
Yep, that answers it. Yeah, I feel like a lot of apps under the hood have a lot of off-chain components, and a lot of the time, you have to use the right tool for the job. And right now, it means using some traditional, forgive the term, Web 2 services. But yeah, that's just reality, and pretty much every single dApp that has a backend is doing that as well. All right.
Absolutely correct.
And yeah, I think that opens a more philosophical discussion around decentralization, but I don't think we have to get into that. But yeah, maybe we can cover some community highlights. There's one that I'd like to flag just to make everyone aware that today we published the first post of a series around getting started with FCL. So I don't know if we have Max in office hours, Max Starka, but he is writing a series on kind of getting familiar with FCL in a very approachable way, kind of how to interact with the chain, how to interact with NFTs, including Flowavatar, including .find. And watch out for that, and we can maybe link to that in the office hours text chat. And yeah, Carol, are there any other community highlights that we want to surface today?
I think this week has been pretty chill, actually, surprisingly. All of the big news happened last week, and more big. Well, you guys can watch out for next week, which I can't say yet.
Do we want to talk a little bit about what happened last week and the weeks before that? There's been a flurry of activity.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, probably, but Go With The Flow started trending all over, and that was in part for celebration of all the great news. For those who didn't know, Coinbase Flow is now being listed on Coinbase. Yay! So now you can go purchase your Flow there. What this means is that a lot of regions that were previously unavailable is now available. And then also we had a ton of great giveaways, a lot of Flow giveaways. Dapper Wallet is soon going to be accepting Flow on the wallet. So another great moment. Lilico Wallet, another non-custodial wallet, is available. Another yay. We did the Billboard Awards NFT Uncharted or charted, sorry, which meant that over 300,000 people got NFTs and we got new people into our ecosystem, which is awesome. And also, what else? What else? There's so many things. Oh yes, our ecosystem fund. That was the biggest news. That is the most exciting part. We should definitely have someone come on and talk about the ecosystem fund more.
Yeah. Do we have anyone on already? Alex, do you want to talk about the ecosystem fund? No, maybe no. You already talked about the developer grants, but I just like putting Alex on the spot.
I think we already talked about the developer grant for the ecosystem fund and the Dapper Sports one, but it'd be good to know like the big chunk of the ecosystem fund and how people can apply, what kind of projects we're prioritizing, who are the investors behind it, and things like that. We should invite the BD team on for that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll have that team. We'll have more info on the ecosystem fund in a future office hours. And that also reminds me that on June 9th, we'll have the office hours that we mentioned last time around the economics of flow. So if you're curious about that, make sure that you don't miss that one.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of question about the update on the circulating supply and why we decided to do the economics the way we did. So Lane, the person who helped build Flow, will come on and tell you about it.
Yay. Cool. All right. Well, if there's no more questions on Slido, and if there's no more questions from the people here, then I guess we can end with 2 minutes to spare.
You can go get a snack now. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Have a good one. See you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.